Gentlelady yields back. The gentlewoman from Michigan, Ms. Tlaib, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank all of you so much for your continued advocacy to also work extremely hard to put a human face behind some of these legal terminologies that I think are in place here. It is very odd because Secretary Ben Carson and I went to the same high school. And sometimes, I remember a 16-year-old girl in high school as he came in, and he was phenomenal. He had just written the book about his historic surgery and separating twins. I mean, it was phenomenal. And he actually said, it doesn't matter, how you grew up. If you work hard enough, you'll succeed. So it's really troubling as in January 2018, under Secretary Carson's leadership, HUD halted implementation of the agency's affirmatively furthering fair housing rule. Under his leadership, he reportedly proposed removing the words, quote, free from discrimination from HUD's mission statement. In March 2017, under Secretary Carson's leadership, HUD withdrew a Federal Register notice regarding a proposal to require owners and operators of HUD-funded homeless shelters to post a notice informing individuals of their rights under HUD's, quote, equal access to coordinates with an individual's gender identity and community planning and development programs. Even though we've seen a huge hike, I think the LGBTQ youth in the U.S. are 120% more likely to experience homelessness than non-LGBTQ youth, and 94% of the service providers report working with LGBTQ youth today. I come from a community that literally every corner is a reminder of the civil rights movement. I remember in college signing up for Fair Housing Detroit, being a secret shopper. I was very good at it. And I took great notes and came back and talked about, watching these slides, talking about little notes or little questions they would ask you. Do you have children? Things like that. They're getting savvy in how they do go around this. That's why disparate impact is so important. And many of you know I intend introducing Justice for All Civil Rights Act. Over 50 years, the courts, everyone has watered down and gone around this idea around, having to show intent when I'm like, no, they're working the system and now they're going around and showing, and that's why disparate impact is so important, looking at the implementation of these policies and what they result in. And so I want to know from all of you, give me some examples of just how creative they're getting. No, really, and getting around that. And especially because many of my residents going door to door, and especially my colleague from Massachusetts, I think we talked about this before, of women with children and being targeted now. Give me some examples of what you've actually seen them use, some terminologies, getting around this, and why disparate impact is so important.
I wasn't planning on sharing a personal story, but I will. I am a single mom of two, and I live in D.C., was looking for a neighborhood where I could feel good about where my kids went to school. I went to public school, wanted them to go to public school, was looking to rent a house. I was talking, the landlord met my kids, I'm who I am. My partner came and visited one of those times, and the landlord says, I'm not sure this is going to work for you. I'm like, it's 4 people in a 3-bedroom house that's 3 levels, that is walking distance to the school. So little language like that, a landlord where it's coded language, I'm not sure this is going to work for you. It was like a smack in the face. I didn't even know what to do with that. And I'm in a privileged place. And so that's one example of the many, many ways we see coded language used.
One of the things that I've also been hearing, so coming from Detroit or Wayne County, huge, still very segregated communities to this day. 51 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, the historic, what we call the Detroit 8-mile wall that was erected to separate blacks and whites, it still exists. It's still the symbol. When I drive by it, it's still there. Will addressing restrictive zoning policies alone eliminate fair housing concerns and residential segregation? I know it's a tough question, but it's important.
So I would say absolutely not. It is one important tool, but it is not going to get the job done. We need to attack this on all fronts, and just changing the zoning. There is no one magic bullet. If there were, we would have found it already. As you mentioned, it's been 51 years and we haven't solved the problem yet. That one solution will not do it.
I would just add to that, if I could. So changing zoning does not make housing affordable, right? Or it depends perhaps on affordable to whom. You need to be clear. So if you're talking about people who are low and moderate income, no housing that you construct in this day and age, even if you can lower some of the costs through zoning changes, is going to make the housing affordable. You know, it's like putting water in a trough, but you can't make the horse drink it, right? You can't make the developer build it. And as Kashana said, it's really, it only gets at one small piece of the problem. We have many more other parts of it that need to be addressed as well.
No, thank you all. And Mr. Chairman, if possible, I would like to submit for the record an article, March 21st, 2019, in the Detroit Free Press, talking about few black people get home mortgages in Detroit and showing the data of literally half of the home mortgages loans in 2017 were white residents in Detroit, and I would like to submit this for record.
Without objection, so ordered. The chair now recognizes himself for 5 minutes. First of all, I want to thank all of the panelists for your remarkable testimony and